All right, welcome to Launchpad webinar today. I'm excited to get started, and we will jump in to talk about how you can turn product ideas into enterprise agentic products fast. So really, what we're talking about here is, as a software company, either a startup or an existing software company, how you can really leverage our platform to really help to take an idea that you want to drive impact this year and next through a new product or building off of an existing product. But today's primarily going to be focused on how you take an idea and bring that to a live product that you can get in market fast and have impact for your clients. And so I'm Jason Masharelli. I lead go-to-market for Launchpad. I also lead our corporate venture fund, and I'm joined by Tim Miranda, who's a fellow with us and has been with Pega for a long time and is a core member of the Launchpad team, and a solutions architect and a leader on the provider success team. So welcome, Tim. Thanks for joining me for this.
Thanks, Jason.
Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to move pretty quick. We're going to go through a lot of content and try and keep it interesting. So real quick, we're going to talk a bit about kind of a situation of imagining that I'm the head of a software company, really interested in driving growth and impact within 2026. Then we're going to take an idea and talk about how we take that idea, leveraging Blueprint and Launchpad to really build that into an enterprise-grade product. Then we're going to hear from kind of voice of a customer reacting to that product and getting a sense of how they think that this product could help them, as an end user. And then we're happy to take questions. So I encourage you to submit questions, throughout the session, and then towards the end we'll get to the questions and have some discussion, and then we'll wrap up and tell you about some of the next events that we've got coming up. And with that, I will get started. So, as I said, the focus here today is we're sitting here still at the beginning of the year. We're about 10% into the year, so it's moving fast. It's a disruptive market for the software industry, and everybody's out there really trying to think about, how do they continue to sustain but thrive and continue to grow, and also deliver next generation products to their clients. So imagine I'm a CEO of a software company providing audit, risk, and compliance solutions. I really want to, basically expand my revenue and impact for my clients, both existing and new clients within this year, so I can have impact this year and really driving growth into next year. I have this vision for a new kind of next-gen AI-first solution for internal audit teams. And really, I'm in a tough spot because my development teams are really busy with existing products. We have limited bandwidth to really focus on new things because we're just trying to do sustaining engineering and responding to client inquiries and supporting our existing clients. But I really want to launch this new kind of next-gen AI-first product. And so that's really the situation I'm in. And so to get started, as leader of a company, I love to, use, AI to do some research. And so, I'm basically using deep research in ChatGPT, and often I'll play with different platforms to get different perspectives. Essentially, I'm describing my situation that I've just talked about. I've essentially got my vision for really a kind of summary of what I think the product might look like in terms of key features and capabilities. And so I spent, about 20 or 30 minutes, going through some prompts and doing some research. And so basically I've got, really a good sense of really what the market opportunity is, a deeper sense of what the product might look like, what a next-gen product might be for, this target buyer that I want to go after in the marketplace. And so I've got, a good amount of detail that is giving me kind of a much better vision than what I started with. And then as I went through this morning, I kind of went through and I was like, hey, look, what are some ways that I could go build this and bring it to market quickly, because I've got a constrained engineering team, and I'm looking for a recommendation for a low-code AI development platform that's fully managed, so it's not going to distract my teams, and has enterprise-grade capabilities. And so basically went out and did research on all the available technologies and solutions out there in the marketplace, got myself kind of a comparison of things. And so I'm not going to go through all this because you're going to want to see the demo. But what was really cool is that, it gave me a really good detailed explanation of what's out there. And it really surfaced Launchpad as a leading solution, really because of our fully managed capability and really the SaaS native architecture. It's one of the only products that's out there that's really purpose-built for building B2B SaaS and agentic workflow products. And also really in this provider subscriber model, which, for me as a software company is really important because I want to be able to scale. I want to have data segregation. I want to have security and really not, again, tie up my engineering team with trying to do this stuff. I also like the idea of Blueprint. And so we're going to see a bit about how that works today as well. And so really bottom line, which I was happy to see, is that, Launchpad was a top recommendation. And really because of its multi-tenant capability, its built-in AI capabilities, compliance, fast development cycles, and really kind of talking about how it kind of fits in the context of the market. So I would take this information in terms of my specification, requirements, and I'm going to turn to Tim and say, hey, Tim, as somebody who's experienced with Launchpad, I'd love to see how you can help me take this thing and turn it into a real solution. Do you think you can do that for me, Tim?
Sure. Let me grab the share here. So what I did was Jason gave me some of the supporting documents that he wrote up, the overall functional description of the app, and I started a blueprint. So I went on launchpad.io and just started cooking up a blueprint. You can see here that I took some of the requirements and other stuff that he had put together based on his research sessions there, and we got going with this. So what Pega Blueprint has done here, which is cool, is that it's extracted out sort of the key outcomes and things that it thinks we need to get work done in this application. Because we're not trying to build an app that just does the same traditional kind of human does this, human does that processes. We really kind of want to think about this AI first, and that's what Blueprint's done for us. It's pulled out these outcomes here. It's figured out what parts can be automated, what parts could use agentic capabilities, and the parts that need, some human in the loop. And it's designed that for us based on those assets that we used. I can even, before I even really dive in, I can say, okay, it's created this internal audit management workflow here to guide the overall process, and some around specific audit program definitions and tracking action plans that come out of the audits. But I can even ask it like, so I can even, chat with my blueprint, right? And I can ask it maybe what else does it think we need to add here? Like, this is a good start. Are there other things that we might want to think about in terms of the workflow? And it's distilled out again from those supporting assets and the documents, other things that we could add here. And I could ask it, go, let's add that workflow right here. For now, just for the discussion today, I think I'm going to stick with what we started with. But this is useful because I can sort of have a conversation with Blueprint, and it can kind of act as like my design expert here and really figure out what we should do. And as I go into the blueprint here, again, thinking about the outcomes and what work needs to get done, if I look at the audit engagement workflow, this is sort of the umbrella workflow here, capturing the initial information about what needs to be done with the audit. You can see here we have a whole mix of things going on here. So the overall life cycle, from capturing the information all the way through to the final engagement, it's defined out a set of processes and steps here. And some of them, like there's a human in the loop, right? The initial capture, sort of the initial engagement and what needs to be done with this audit. So it'd be good to have someone really provide that initial detail. But traditionally, when we talk to folks who really do this for a living, there's some parts here that normally a human would just like real manual parts, like looking through the initial information, identifying things that might be high risk, things that need special attention. But we can use our agentic capabilities. We can use the guided workflow to really do that on behalf of the people, and then figure out who needs to be working on this. Again, get a human in the loop to approve this initial engagement, send out notifications on our behalf, and go from there. So, really a lot of initial flexibility and power here just with this initial design of our Launchpad application. And it's figured out that, there's some things here that need some initial review. There's some things here that the app can do on the human's behalf, right? So if they're going to draft an initial report, we can do that with an automation, doing some refining of it, right? So we can use Gen AI and agentic capabilities to do that in a controlled and guardrail way, so that then we can put that in front of a person to have a discussion about, review, revise, things like that. Really take off things out of people's hands that are just sort of grunt work. And that's important because this app that Jason's thinking about putting on the market, it's not targeting huge enterprises with audit teams, 50 people, 60 people. We're really going after the businesses where the people that are involved in audits, people that really know how this works and do these things on a day-to-day basis, they've got a lot of stuff going on. The teams are small, right? And so that's what we want to think about is what can we do on their behalf? What can the app do? But in a really predictable way, right? So we have the workflow defined out here. We really know what's going to be happening step by step, and the app can do some work on behalf of people, get it in front of the right people, route it to the right people, all of that using Launchpad capabilities. Again, even here, as I'm working on the blueprint, I can work with it here. I can configure the steps. I can add information. When I want to send out an email, I can just type in the message that I want to send, and it'll add that as part of the application when we import this into the development environment. But yeah, I can chat with it here, like so I can, depending on what my comfort level is with conversational development versus sort of interactive clicking on things and developing, I can do a mix of those things, and it can modify the workflow. It can suggest new things. It can add steps, change stuff, and I can really quickly iterate through my workflow and figure out what I want. But looking at this design here and kind of seeing the visualized workflow, that's cool. But maybe I have a customer, a friendly prospect that's really interested in this solution for their smaller business, and I don't want to have to build out a POC or designs, Word documents. I want to actually show the app to them and see if it's headed in the right direction before we continue implementing the rest of it. So
Tim, before you do that, I just want to keep that.
Yeah.
So I'm just want to highlight a couple of things here. So we went from like basically an idea, a text description of what we've got, and then you were able to feed this into Blueprint and then quickly get really a workflow, which is not just a series of lines and such, but actually a very in-depth view of what this application could be based on our vision.
Yep.
And really it's using AI to help you be kind of a co-designer to build this, right? And now you've got really a kind of a canvas that you as a non-technical developer can basically focus on really the value that you're going to deliver with this product versus worrying about code and all the infrastructure and all the technical aspects, and really just focus on what is the outcome that we want to deliver in this kind of next gen AI first product. And then it sounds like where you're going with this is that basically now you could sit down with some customers and test the idea and refine it and really validate it, and then I would assume we're going to get to a place that we could actually bring it to market, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's really important to me because I don't want to spend my time thinking about deployments and repositories for code and like how am I going to actually get this stood up somewhere so that I can get it in front of the customers or even test it and try things out. What I'm able to really focus here is what does this app need to do for them and on their behalf, and I can also really validate that in the blueprint and show it to them live, and actually collect the ground truth there, right? So if I've built out this initial workflow and I say that at this work paper review stage, it's going to need a manager review and then a VP sign off. My first customer or sets of customers may say, I may need that to be different, or I don't need that level of review. And I haven't gone off and generated a bunch of code and then I have to maintain it and change it and react, slowly to their feedback. I can do it right within this AI-driven design. I can ask for suggestions. I could vibe with it and say, can we consolidate the review steps? And I can do all of that within minutes and then show it to them again. And so you get that real interactive, is this app doing what we want it to be doing, and be able to get that feedback directly from stakeholders.
Very cool. Yeah, so it seems like we took kind of like the jobs to be done that an internal audit team wants to do. Today, a lot of that stuff's typically manual, and we looked at existing products in the market, and a lot of those things are traditional SaaS products that kind of are CRUD applications where you kind of enter information, they're kind of checklists and help you manage and report on stuff. But what this starts to look like is you've really mapped the journey and those kind of work streams, and you've got human in the loop steps. But I would imagine over time, we might be able to replace some of those human steps with agent steps that, you could have agents actually execute some of these pieces of work as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the cool part about like the human in the loop steps here and the tasks is that it's defining a task, stuff that needs to get done. If in the future we say, we can just have an agent follow the workflow within the guardrails, be predictable about it, but do that for people. And so the people that are involved can focus on just executing the audit and doing the stuff that they need to do. Takes a lot of stuff off their hands, but we don't have to do that all at once, right? So we can really target using AI and agents where it makes sense, and solve the problems for the customers with a very early MVP. Get it in their hands, get them using it, making stuff better, and just continue to evolve it like quickly over time.
So let's see it.
Yeah, so I mean, even before I've gone through the rest of this and made some changes, I can look at it, I can show it to stakeholders, internal, external stakeholders here, and I can kind of play around with the look and feel of it. But here I can see what happens when I start a new audit engagement. I can see that it's generated, it has kind of contextually useful sample data right here within the blueprint. So all the things that you'd have to do to kind of show off an application traditionally to stakeholders, it really taken care of for me by Blueprint. Having to have sample data, be able to show the screens, even walk through the processes, all the controls and gadgets, and all the layout here. It was done for me. I didn't have to design any of this. I really focused on the workflows and the jobs to get done. But I can also show off other aspects of what would be coming to my application, right? So with insights in Launchpad, I'm able to really have, like, for administrators or leadership at my customers, be able to see what's going on in the application and the audits, be able to explore the data on their own. And so all of this is really kind of something that basically you get for free, and you can show off the application. And I may look at this and say, as I'm creating a new audit engagement here, maybe I don't need the business unit to start with. I can actually use the vibe coding or directly from here to change this as I'm going. So as I'm previewing it, I can directly capture feedback from stakeholders, prospective customers, and actually have it change my design on the fly, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
So here I may say, I need the business units, but also maybe at this point I also need to be collecting an action plan. And I can actually drop it in here and change my user interface, change my data model, all of that without having to go back and change, the case type and the workflows. So really super interactive live preview experience here. Makes it so fast to kind of get this working the way I want it to be working, so then I can go and build out the rest of the application.
Awesome. And just to be clear for folks, this is really for, Launchpad again is built for software companies. So this is really something that is, as people in the old days would say, like a white label solution, in the sense that it, you saw the Pega logo up there, but it would actually be, whoever the software company is that wanted to build the product here, they would have their logo, their branding, There's configuration capabilities, right? So, you're not just building this as a purpose-built app for one company, you're building it as a deep, capability that you can sell to many clients, and then it can be customized and tailored and configured for each of those clients. And we handle all of that within the platform, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, something as simple as, I may be working with a client that has, again, I'll go back to like the review steps here. It may be that for one client, they just need a single review and sign off. For others, they may have a multi-step, multiple people that need to all approve, or at least one of them has to approve. So I could configure my app as I'm building in Launchpad Studio so that for one client, the process works a certain way, for another works another way. I don't have to release different versions of my application. I don't have to think about like forking the logic or anything. The configuration layer in Launchpad is really powerful for that, so that you can build your app and you can really make it custom fit for each customer, so that they're not all dealing with like one generic solution. But for me as a developer, it feels like I'm building one application and I'm not having to build a bunch of little ones, which is really important. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, and of course, Launchpad, all the other aspects of an application, not just the workflow, but the data, the integrations. It's Blueprint suggested to me the types of users it thinks it's going to interact with my application. And here, I can add different personas. I could customize these. I can start to map, even before I've started to build the application, I can start to map who should be kind of working on what, right? So an audit manager may be able to kick off a new audit engagement. An auditor may only be able to work on certain tasks. I can really start to kind of map those policies and roles here within the design. And so when I start to build the app in Studio, a lot of the stuff's already been taken care of for me, which is great. Yeah, and so I've finalized my design here. I've given a live previews to Jason. He's giving me my feedback. We've put it maybe in front of some customers, and at this point, I would take the next step here and go into the Launchpad Studio, right? And so I've taken that blueprint, imported it into Launchpad Studio. It's generated all the things that I need. Again, we have our internal audit engagement workflow. We have the personas we just looked at. We'll have different portals that we can start to build here. And I can go through and really start to build out the rest of my app. From here, as a developer, I can preview the app and I can actually make a change and preview it as different personas. So I can see how it's working for an audit manager versus an auditor. Again, I can use that for internal, external demos as well, so that I'm not sending screenshots around. I'm not building, wireframes and things like that. I'm directly designing and building and implementing the app here in Studio and showing it off all at the same time. And this is not just the development environment here, right? So as a provider, Launchpad gives me the capabilities to see through what's going on across my different clients here. So let's say I've deployed an application to a few different subscribers and clients. I can kind of see the unit consumption over time, like how are the apps being used, all the different subscribers and what they're doing with my applications, all right here in one place, so that I don't have to think about what am I going to do after deployment here? How am I going to monitor my applications? Launchpad gives me those tools, so I can keep track of what's going on after I go live with my applications as well. So let's see. Yeah, so I think, we've seen the blueprint, we've seen pulling that into Studio, kind of seen the actual design that we're thinking about going with this application, and it's going to be really easy to go and take this live. So what do you think we should do next, Jason?
Yeah, I just want to recap a couple of things. So basically the blueprint, allowed us to do the ideation and, use AI to really, create and prototype our product. And then you basically could take that blueprint, if you wanted to, you could actually estimate the cost of that blueprint to run for your clients through our estimator, which we won't show now, but there's a cool tool that allows you to do that. And then you brought it into Studio, and some folks on the call may not know what Studio is, but Studio is our full development environment that Tim went through. And that's really where you kind of finish off your app. You build out all the capabilities, the integrations, all of the AI capabilities. So really, Blueprint's kind of the tip of the iceberg, and then Studio gives you the full capabilities of the platform. And then we went through subscriber management. So really, the click of a button, put in a subscriber's email, and now you've basically spun up a tenant and a dedicated isolation for that customer that auto scales. And so now you're basically in market, with your product, with customers, and you can scale to tens, hundreds, or thousands of clients. And so it's pretty cool. I mean, in just a course of 20 minutes, we went through all of that. So
Yep.
You saw the persona that was on there that Tim had. That was the VP of audit. So what was really cool is, and Phil, if you can come on, I'll introduce you. So Phil came to me a few weeks back and he said, hey, I've known Phil for a while, and Phil runs audit at Pega. And he said, hey, I've got this need for myself, and it'd be really cool if there was an app like this. And so Phil, it'd be great, just give you a quick introduction for yourself.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Jason. And Tim, great to be here. Thank you. So I've got about over 30 years of experience in internal audit risk and compliance, the compliance profession, mostly managing small internal audit teams and mid-sized companies, primarily in the insurance, healthcare, and software industries. And my experience with applications that are out there now are, they're very expensive, they're cumbersome, and they almost feel like an expensive data repository and task manager that tracks work. And there are a couple of things that you said that were music to my ears that I'd like to expand upon if I could.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So the first thing was, I think it was Tim that talked about execution, and I really think there's an opportunity to build something that's much more intuitive solution that actually executes the work. Being able to build an application that just, as you can see, has much easier customization. It can be built relatively quickly, and allowing for that constructive feedback along the way, I think is great. And I think overall that would just help with the integration, down the road with the finished product. Incorporating the latest AI capabilities, and the second thing that I heard was guiding the auditor through the process, right? And really, that's just getting it to the next generation of internal audit software. I think it'd be something like just make it much more favorable and enabling the internal auditors too, better guiding them through an audit process. And what that ultimately would result with would be less training and getting a new internal auditor onboarded very quickly. With the AI capabilities and the different types of audits that we work, I could definitely see an opportunity there where that can even help with some of the research. So if you're a seasoned auditor, but getting into an area that we haven't audited before, I can see with some of the AI capabilities that could be help there in assessing risk, understanding risk, and building your audit process, your audit programs and test work out there. The other thing I really see it doing too is, in the context of enabling auditors, minimizing or eliminating some of these administrative tasks that can really bog us down and just be like a time suck for us. Time consuming work, and just with our documentation requirements, we can tend to have some repetitive work. So I think that could eliminate this and really allow the audit team and the auditors to focus on more meaningful and higher skill oriented work, which when you think about it, it's better for audit teams, can increase the capacity for the work, particularly in a growing company. It can help upskill the auditors and give them, again, more meaningful work, which can actually accelerate their career growth. So I think there's so many wins here and so much opportunity. I'm excited for it. It's cool, and the lifelong Massachusetts residents in me wants to say it's wicked awesome.
That's great. Awesome. And Phil, I think, one of the things that strikes me is that audit is such a core process that is, the heart of kind of compliance for companies, especially as a public company. And so like predictability and accuracy is so important. And so one of the things that, Pega is really good at and Launchpad's really good at is using the best of both worlds of leveraging AI, but also using a hardened workflow process and rules that are predictable, that are
Yep.
going to give you a consistent set of results every single time, as opposed to allowing hallucinations and things. And it allows you that over time, as you roll these things out, a tool like this that's an AI first product, that it can be really fine-tuned over time to take on more and more of those tasks for you, but doing it in a way that's predictable, right? And so I imagine that's pretty critical for you, because your credibility is on the line as the head of audit for the company, right?
Oh, absolutely. And any mistakes, if a software makes a mistake, no one's gonna understand me blaming it on the software. That's on me.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. I look at this, what you had built there, and two other terms come to mind that are very popular in my profession: effectiveness and efficiency. And I see this really helping to build a more effective and efficient process.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Well, this was fun. So, the product vision and kind of the story and narrative that we went through today is just one example of how a software company or a founder could really take an idea and an existing, kind of job to be done or problem that they want to address in the market, and really build a next generation AI first product leveraging Launchpad, to give kind of the best of both worlds of predictable workflow, leveraging AI both in the development and also in the production runtime environment. And then, the other thing is, I was playing the role of the CEO of a constrained development team. And so we were able to see how quickly, after just a few weeks back, Phil and I chatted. And then Tim and I were like, hey, it'd be really cool if we use this as a narrative and a story for a webinar. And, so basically, Tim's been busy with his day job, and basically, I think between yesterday and today, put together what you saw as this demo and this blueprint. And so hopefully you can see kind of the opportunity. We'd love to talk to folks, that are on, that see this video. Reach out to us, hit the contact sales button on our website. I encourage you to sign up for free at launchpad.io for our Explore edition, which is free and gives you access to the whole blueprinting capability, gives you access to the unit estimator, and follow us on LinkedIn. And I'd love to talk to you about strategy and how you can potentially build products that can drive impact this year for your clients. And so with that, I think we'll probably wrap up, and I will just highlight a couple of quick things that we've got coming up. Here we go. So we have two webinars coming up, one on March 12th, which is featuring a client that's actually built out an application that's a next generation AI-powered inspection solution. So they'll talk a bit about their story and how they've built out that product, and how they're going to market with that product. And then in March, at the end of March on the 24th, we'll be talking to Avansis, which is another company that's built out a very robust payment investigations product with Launchpad, really rethinking and modernizing that whole workflow. And so love to see you guys there. Reach out to me if you've got questions. Hit the contact us on our page. And with that, we'll jump into questions, Lena.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason and team and Phil. This was great to see an AI first audit application built on such flexible platform as Launchpad. So Jason, in the beginning, you showed a couple people ping me with the questions directly. I invite everyone to use Q&A feature. Feel free to submit questions as we speak. You showed that Launchpad was the best fit for the issue you were tackling.
Sure.
There are many low-code tools and vibe coding tools at the moment. What makes Launchpad the best fit, Jason?
Sure. Yeah. So if you notice in my prompt, I had specifically said, I've got a constrained development team. I want to get a platform that's low code, it's AI powered, it's focused on workflow, it's for B2B, and it's something that's enterprise grade. And so as you start to look at those attributes, that's where Launchpad starts to really stand out. And so there are generic low code platforms that you can build apps for your own internal organizations. You can build some products, but in terms of really building an enterprise grade solution that's multi-tenant and really, has the data isolation and separation and the robust workflows that is really, quite frankly, the capabilities that Pega has had for the last 40 years built into this platform for software companies to leverage, is really where we kind of become very, very unique. And that's why, the LLM clearly kind of recommended Launchpad. It was a very specific request, but I'm trying to do something very specific, right? So I had, we're a $2 billion company. Phil runs audit. He wants a very, robust solution that's going to address his needs. So that's why I got that recommendation. You're on mute, I think. There we go.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Okay. And related to that, so how much engineering or like team lift is it typically required to get something like this into production?
Tim, you want to take that?
Yeah. So I think the cool part here is that by building so much of the application and design and sort of outcomes in Blueprint, you don't need an engineer to do that, right? So if you're the sort of a domain expert, you could be a founder of a company. If you're a little technical, like I think it's a great way to actually figure out how you want your app to work. And when it comes to actually building the application, taking the blueprint and taking the final steps from there, again, instead of thinking about, oh, I'm going to need my entire engineering team to work on this, I'm going to have to hire a bunch of developers, you can have your technical folks, you can have a small set of them. You can also have them looking at it part-time, right? So you have stuff going on in your company. You have your existing software, you have your other offerings. This is a way that they can actually, with just a portion of maybe some of your technical folks, take an app, take the design, get it up and running, get an MVP one out live. Because again, once you build functionality and you've got it working the way you want, you don't have to then think about infrastructure, deployment, managing the systems, and all of that kind of operational aspects that would take your time as well. They can focus on the actual functionality, and Launchpad will deal with the rest of that. So you can go live really quickly that way.
Yeah, and we're really excited about working with companies that have a product vision and customers that they want to target, and helping them get to that kind of initial release that they can put in the hands of clients within like 60, 90 days, and sometimes even faster. And so we're happy to lean in and help you guys build, talk about if this is the right fit or not. And so, we'd love to just chat and help you figure out, how you guys drive impact and grow revenue.
Perfect. I think you guys touched a little bit on the next one. Can I customize my Launchpad application for each of my customers? So Tim, you talked about this. Anything you want to highlight in addition?
Yeah, I mean, it's the configuration option in Launchpad is really powerful, because it could be something as simple and small as like the theming and branding of your application. You kind of want to make it, each of your customers make it feel like their own. That's easy to do. It's also easy to change entire swaths of your workflows and processes and stages, so that you really have tailored workflows and outcomes for each customer, but managing it as a provider as one application. So that configuration capability is a really interesting dimension in Launchpad that we use a lot.
Awesome. And I see a question from Andrew as well. How much is the access to the live environment for educational prototyping and demo purposes?
Sure. Yeah, so I can take that. So again, Launchpad Explorer is free. So I encourage you start there, start building. If you start to say, hey, this looks like something that's a good fit for me, contact sales, reach out to me, and happy to, figure out how to get you access. For companies that, really are clear on how they want to get to market, and they really want to have our teams get, really involved in helping them build. On our website, you can see our pricing, but, for startups, it starts at $500 a month. For companies that are, bigger than a startup, it's $900 a month, but you're getting a lot of usage capacity in that allows you to get to, good margins. You're also getting a lot of resources from us that actually help you, kind of from a forward deployed, kind of engineer perspective, help you build and get successful as well.
Awesome. I think we've covered the questions.
Great. Awesome. Thanks so much. Lena, Phil, Tim, that was fun. Thank you. And thanks everybody for joining us. And again, feel free to reach out, and we're here to help, and we want to really help you build a business and see if this is a good fit for you. Have a great day.